Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Hustle. I'm your host, Tony J. The Seven Figure Hustle, where future millionaires tune in to be inspired. We take you from A to Z financially, show you how to travel, all while looking good. On today's show, I'm excited to have some amazing guests. Our topic for the day is how does the lack of financial education and resources contribute to crime in our communities? And how does early childhood education help reduce crime? Why and what can be done? All right, I'm going to bring in my amazing guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Greetings. Hello, everyone.
Can everybody hear me? You guys look amazing. Kathy Lee, we're going to start with you.
Okie doke. My name is Kathleen Lee. I'm a retired educator with the Philadelphia School District. I am board president of West Park Cultural Center, which is arts and education is our primary focus. And I'm also a member of Historic Germantown, and I'm chair of the education committee. And I'm married with 2 children.
Okay. Eliza.
Greetings, everyone. I am Eliza Dukes, CEO and founder of the Breathing Experience Institute. I am a master breathologist and a stress specialist and ambassador to the Genius is Common movement. I'm also a best-selling author of I Am a Victor, and I'm just pleased to be here.
Miss Michelle Snow.
Well, good day, everyone. I'm known as Michelle Snow, the Platinum Connect and Vision 2 Performance Coach, and that's just fancy for I love people. I love to see them soar to become their greatest selves. I'm grateful that over these 8 years, I've been able to become a Forbes coach, minority certified, award-winning, and I'm so grateful that last year we launched our nonprofit to be able to provide additional charitable services to our amazing community. And thank you for having me.
And Miss Melanie Bazemore.
Hello, guys. My name is Melody Bazemore, and I'm a financial literacy coach. I actually am a CEO and owner of MB Financial Group, which is my investment group. And I also do the credit boosters, which I help you improve your credit, give you that financial literacy so that you can maintain it and show you how to absolutely control it with assets. So guys, thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. I'm going to pull back because you guys, everybody who know me know this is not my forte. So based on the subject, I'm going to read what was said and what people think. It says, by the time offenders reach the court system, they are already carrying a significant amount of debt. Fines, court costs, traffic tickets, restoration payments. People get stuck into the buy here, pay here, pay here, not understanding the fees and the interest rates. Most people don't understand fees and interest rates, because a lot of times to get $20 out of bank, you need $35 in there. And a lot of people don't understand that. Okay, because of the lack of financial education, lots of people do not know how to manage their credit cards, not know how to manage their debt, to make financially reasonable, responsible decisions, choices that are necessary to everyday life. Bills are due. How will I pay that? How am I take care of my family? I got to do what I got to do. And those words, once they take those words, I got to do what I got to do in the street, a lot of times it's not a good thing for the person. And with personal finance, is not usually taught in school. And most of us go into the life with little or no understanding of how to navigate our finances. And sometimes it leads to crime. So ladies, you guys can jump right in. And I want y'all to spin on, what do you think? Why do you think crime isn't? Why do you think people turn to crime? Because they don't know the funding. Why do we think we need financial literacy in neighborhoods?
Well, I'll start with statistics does say people with less than a 650 credit score and lower, their neighborhoods are affected with crime more than someone with a 720 and above credit score. It's because with the lack of knowledge, I would say that old saying, my back is pushed against the wall. So just like someone will use the excuse for a homeless person to eat out the market, but the market is losing income and revenue. So that is stealing, but somebody with a compassionate heart is saying, well, they have to eat. So now this is where crime comes into play, because you get petty theft. And sometimes when it starts being petty theft, it can become bigger and bigger. So lack of education is causing, a major difference in our neighborhoods.
And I'm going to throw this to Kathy. Kathy, why do you think that the school system didn't teach financial literacy?
Well, I'm going to take it through a different little level here. Pardon me. I think to answer this question is to look at it from a historical perspective. Here we are having this discussion about lack of financial literacy and lack of education leading to crime and everything else. And we're trying to, as a people, navigate and function in a capitalistic system that was, one, not created by us, two, not created for us to participate. We were the product, we were the workforce, we worked and never got paid. So, and as I said before, it's the only time we were all employed, but we just weren't paid. So here we are expecting people, even after Reconstruction, not thrown out, well, yeah, just thrown out, just left to wander, no place really to go, and being harassed and assaulted. And we're supposed to be these great financial geniuses.
Capitalistic system is what we wasn't taught about either. We were just taught to go to work, get a job, get a house, get a car, and live the American dream. And I think it's just we all are waking up to what is the American dream. If it says that we can have everything that we want, we got to just now go get it and utilize the system now. Since we know better, we just have to do better.
Right. Okay. So now that we know what the problem is, in your own opinion, how can we solve it? What can be done? What should a person know that caused them to say, I got to go out here and do what I got to do? What is a step-by-step, maybe something they should do?
Well, I'd like to chime in. My experience, I was court approved to work with the human traffic population and the at-risk youth in the city of Philadelphia. And my experiences have been working with Vision Quest specifically, is that the children have no vision for their lives. So I did an experiment with them one day where I brought in a box and I asked them to write down the things that were most important to them and what were their biggest challenges. And I have to say, unanimously, they said fear of living to the next day. That's something that we've never had to deal with on a daily basis. So trying to teach them how to manage their stress was not the first thing that I could do. I had to first create for them what would their vision look like if they could get past the next day. And so, and it was heart-wrenching because I had to just, really be creative and seek some counsel on how to really deal with their heartaches, because they didn't want to learn how to do some deep breathing and meditation and tension relief exercises. They didn't want my complete emotional wellness plan. So being able to get them to start doing a vision board helped to increase their vision to see themselves at least looking towards something that would encourage them, give them some core understanding of what they could look for in the future. Also, and giving them some examples of successful people who came from the streets, who did make it out of the gang slang, and being able to see themselves not just past the next day, but how could they deal in school? Because, you know, they were all in the same situation. They were there to learn now how to manage their emotions. So how could you get into the mindset, the frame of mindset to say, I do want to do better. I want to see myself past this point, but what am I willing to do? And my willingness to do it, what's the first step? So the first step was, once again, not just creating the visuals, but giving them some affirming words to strengthen them, once again, to expand their view of themselves so they could begin to go to the next step, which was now, how do I handle my emotions in school? What am I really angry about? So, and the list goes on.
Can I jump in here? And I don't mean to cut anyone else off, but just to piggyback on what you're saying, every year, I taught African and African-American history and English. I would ask them, I'll never forget one year, who do you think are the smartest people? The first one they put up there were whites. The second group they put up were Asians. Then they put up Puerto Rican because they didn't really understand that, you know, Hispanics, Latinos, and they put themselves last. And I said, why did you put yourself last? She said, because everybody knows we're dumb. I said, really? Only you know. Why do you believe that? So time went by, and the only thing that changed in all the years I was teaching, instead of white being first, it flipped where it was the smartest kids were Asians, second were the whites, third was still the Puerto Ricans, and they were still last. So what does that tell you in the 20-something years that I taught? But what I can tell you as a teacher in the classroom, when they heard about Mansa Musa, when they learned about how African women ran the economies of some countries, of some societies, and the people that lived in Africa, because if you tell them, you know, you're African, no, I'm not, they want to start all this fighting and fussing until you start looking into your own history, which is why they don't want you to learn it. It's not called critical race theory. They're folding it in to make it an issue that people should run away from. So they don't want you to know how the financial systems run. And they also don't want you to want to enjoy being in school or learning about that you did run countries. You had empires. You ran everything. You invented so many things. So to put yourself last.
I just want to jump in and say, wow. Wow. First of all, Miss Tony J, thank you for putting together such an incredible platform of brilliant, courageous, smart, and if I go the next mile and say beautiful queens who are in business. I think that Kathleen, Eliza, and Melody have done an awesome job in just giving a real clear perspective of how we can overcome this trauma of finances and crime and how it's ravaging our cities and communities. So I like to just jump in and say that you asked us, well, what can we do about it? Well, clearly, Kathleen, Eliza, Melody are all doing something in their parts of the world. And so that's probably where I'll just spend a few moments that we would all love to solve all of the problems, but we cannot. We can only address what we have the capacity, the ability, the skill set, and compassion to do. And in that, we can touch a little piece of the world and make it better, right? We can lean in on one little piece of the world and make it better. So I wanted to scale back for a second and note, I believe that we're all from Philadelphia. Can you just raise your hands if you're all from Philadelphia, living in Philadelphia, right? You too, Miss Kathleen, you're from Philly as well? We're all close enough to the Philadelphia or the tri-state area where we're literally experiencing this pain together, right? So for those who are watching around the country and around the world, in the Philadelphia area, which is the most heavily populated metropolitan city in the country, we're facing the highest crime rate. We're hearing stories like a young girl who was on the basketball court, 15 years old, in her neighborhood, enjoying recreation of sports, and she was shot. We also have heard that one of our urban city strips, a historical street called Germantown Avenue, there were business owners and neighbors sitting in front of a storefront, small business, only to be shot at, right? We are constantly hearing these stories that cause us trauma and pain. So how is this impacting our community? I like to just take a risk here, ladies, and add that some of the financial challenges that we're having and the crime is simply because people have access. Like, gone are the days where I believe there was a line of demarcation that says, pause, we're going too far, right? We'll do this, but we will never do that. We're at a free for all. This younger generation does not have the same morals and standards and ethics of, if I shoot at my man, I might miss and grandpa or the baby might get hit, right? So there's an access to crime every day. I don't know about you ladies, but when I go into the bank, at the end of my transaction, they actually ask me, are you having problems with fraud? So now I'm saying, wait a minute, I just gave you my money. I just gave you a check. And you're asking me if I have problems with fraud, you know? And I said, well, why are you asking me that? And she says, it's just rampant. So now we're just asking everybody, what are you experiencing? So I know we have to go to a break. So I like to wrap up my part by saying that we're the generation that has a different standard of ethics, morals, lines of demarcation, access to crime, and they can do crime really, really well, probably better than any generation before them. They know how to scam and get their money and not get caught. So that's where I'll leave it at, Miss Tony J, producer.
Okay, when we come back, we're going to really get into the meat and potatoes of it. Kathleen, I want you to say, what can be done financially in schools? Ms. Dukes, I want you to tell people what they can do before they make that decision, because they don't know how to deal with finances and because of the hardship. Ms. Snow, coaching. If it wasn't for you coaching me with all my anxieties, with all my lack ofs, but I do it anyway. It's because of the coaching, because of the Melanie will call me, you can do it, you can do it. Whenever I call Melanie, I might not can hear from her for a minute. She'll answer that phone. And so when we come back, we're going to really get back into the subject of how does the lack of financial education contribute to crime? We'll be right back.
Hi, you're watching the 7-Figure Hustle Show. Stay tuned.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with Tony J's 7-Figure Hustle.
So guys, how does the lack of education, why is that happening? Because of lack of education. And that's the subject, is why these things are happening, because what do people need to know? So maybe to avoid things like that from happening on the financial, on the resource basics.
To me, it basically starts in the home. The school is second, but if it's not occurring in the home, it's second. But like I said, again, we're still trying to ride this ladder.
Okay, but, I'm gonna jump in there.
Well, hold up. No, you asked me that.
No.
So I'm going
Kathy Lee, please. Kathy Lee.
Okay, please.
Kathy Lee. We go through this every time you're on my show. Stop.
Because you cut me off.
Listen to, I'm saying I'm cutting you off because you saying it's starting at, me and her argue every time she's on my show. It starts at home, but the whole thing is a lot of people at home don't know. They're in school all day long. They're not home all day long. So you guys got them more than their parents have them. Go back.
Now, my content that I'm certified in was English and history. Teaching economics, that was home ec. They cut that out. Vallis removed home economics. That's where they learned how to budget. That wasn't my job. So when you say, what does a school need to do? Turn the middle school had 4 home economics suites. Those kids, in my opinion, put some home economics back into the schools. Put the teachers that teach economics and all this stuff back into the school. They removed them all. So what do you expect is going to happen?
And see, that's what happens when you begin to allow the questions to really resonate with us and we begin to feel it deeply. I feel Kathleen's pain and I feel your frustration. But like I know, that is where real solutions start. Like once we get finished being sad, you all know the chain. After you get finished being sad, you get angry and you fight with the host to say, wait a minute, let me talk, right? That's the start to saying, I'm about to tear something up in a very, very good way. So I was just enjoying what Miss Kathleen had to say. I think she was really on to something.
I do too. Melanie, what do you think?
I think that Kathy is correct. They took so many of the trades out of the school. That's what forced me to move to Montgomery County for my youngest children to finish high school. Because without having other options, you can't expect all the children to be able to conquer math, spelling, and English and want or have the desire to go to college. And if the household is already have economical struggles, college might not even be an option. So that's where the trades do come in. And I'm proudly able to say my son, 27 years old, is an electrician due to me making that, choice. And in that choice, because I wasn't financially literate then, I lost my home. But it was worth it because I was able to then get financially literate. And now he's a homeowner and I'm investing in property. So you do have to learn from your mistakes, but that's why you also need people to empower you. And that's why the coaching and different activities we can put together to give these children what they're missing, and young adults and adults, because it starts, like Kathy said, kind of at home. It's just missing from the household on how to make revenue besides just the college route.
And Liza, what can be done? Because most of us, because we don't, the lack of financial education, the lack of knowing how to handle your finances, the lack of knowing how to do a budget or the willingness to do a budget causes so much stress. And that's why I think a lot of people go, they're saying, let me go do what I got to do. So what are some of the things that's lacking in a household on that stress level? Could you address that?
Well, I think it's about going back to the simple things that once worked. And I know the kids don't have the concentration like we did. However, telling them one or two things that are vitally important. You need to learn how to count. I mean, that's simple. You know what I mean? There's plenty of workbooks around. And simply learning how to read and then comprehend. They're two vital components that you cannot live without because they expand. You learn how to start counting your money. You learn how to start respecting your money. You learn how to read. You build up some confidence. You build up your ability to see yourself being able to comprehend what you're reading and apply it to your life. And those are just two simple skills, but they go on forever. I think the school system has put us in a place where they have so many things complicated. The kids can't think on the simple things. There's so many youth organizations around, though. And I feel like we're too separated. We need to come together with a community plan because everybody has something that brings us together to be able to use that makes us a whole. We've just been in a place where I got an email about $13 million that's being allocated to the city of Philadelphia for youth programs. And I didn't try to tap into any of that money because really my primary target is women who are menopause at this point. So I'm not doing a whole lot with the youth other than when I get hired to do some special classes for them. And because of COVID, I'm not in Vision Quest. I'm not in the courts working with the children, but I'm looking for opportunities to be able to share what I do have. I do provide an emotional wellness life plan. Because once you understand the core issues that we have to deal with each one separately. So if you're having a comprehension issue, then we need to teach them how to read, even if it's from the lower level, until they build the confidence and the understanding that there is no shame in this game. It's about being able to go through the process and know that life is a journey. You don't get everything in one-stop shop, and you don't go from being a child to being grown. You have to take the necessary steps to get to those places. However, when it comes to the financial component, when I have to just say this as a sidebar, when I was manifesting money, I brought a whole lot of fake money. And, you know, it was encouraging. You know, when the kids came to the house, they were counting the money. You know, they were excited about money, and they began to understand that you do need money to live. It is not just to be a scavenger to live, but to have some dreams and to get rid of some of the hopelessness, because, you know, from a traumatic experience for the children, we've been traumatized generation after generation after generation. We've literally slipped into a lower level of homelessness, a lower level of hopelessness, you know? So the parents are not home all the time because they're trying to make the ends meet. So to kind of wrap up what I'm saying is we have to go back to something that's simple to do. We know the kids are engaging in the games. They should be learning how to code. You know, there's some coding classes that are around. We've got to be able to come and look at this as a whole picture and seeing how can this organization, that organization, your organization, my organization, all of our organizations come together and create a platform where the kids can come in, and whatever neighborhood you're in, and be able to start from the basics. Because that's what's missing is the basics. We've got to chime into the basics just to get them to start growing and maturing and seeing themselves develop in the areas where they're lacking at. So,
okay, I'm gonna send this out to Melanie. Melanie, what is a good age to start financial literacy?
Actually, as soon as they can read.
So that's about what, 2?
I would say 4, about 4 or 5, because, you know, you want to teach them basics. I see more 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, but 4 or 5 years old, when they start going into the store, you can start giving them $1 so they can pay for their own, you know, candy, chips, and they can see the equivalence of what 35 cents versus coming out of that dollar and getting 65 cents in change. Because the biggest problem I see out here is when you do go to fast foods, and we're not talking about babies, we're talking about young adults, that if you give them the change over like 20 and the 35 cents, they're totally confused because they're so programmed to use the computer for the information. And the school system has changed mathematics. It's a new math system. So it's very confusing now to even be basic. And that's what I do agree, that we have to go back to the basics. And it constantly starts at home. If you're not doing it on a consistent basis, you can't expect your child to actually get it. So I would say definitely at 4 and 5, you want to start them learning, you know, making transactions and learning how to count and get change, definitely.
Okay, great. Now, Michelle, I have a question for you as a coach. I used to hear a lot of times, you know, get somebody who knows what to do, get someone that can show you. If you want to do something, get somebody who's already successful with it. Okay, I know for me, because everybody who knows me well. No, I do. I don't say I suffer from anything, but I have anxiety. I am in therapy. I will never stop going to therapy. That's just how, because it has helped me. So with me coming to you as a coach, I was introduced to you by you know who?
Wanda.
Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
By Wanda. And when I had the mini show, and that was part of my situation of my memory, but I'm not a woe is me type of person. And a lot of times things just go out my head. A lot of, like, y'all names, I had to sit back and I had to put y'all names up on the screen so I could remember, so I could process it. It's not that I forgot y'all names, but it's the process. I said all that to say this. Coming to you and being coached by you made a difference in my life, because now I've seen a different perspective. The same thing with going to therapy. I saw a different perspective. The same thing with breathing. I saw a different perspective. The same thing with my credit. I seen a different perspective. And with it's just like, it's different. A lot of people I've talked to, just the word college was never said in my household. My dad could not read, nor could he write. He could make some money. He could hustle. He fed us. He made sure the rent was paid. But I'm saying, and I know a lot of people say it starts in the household. It can't start somewhere where it's not at, if that makes any sense, if I verbalize that right. And I want to play a video that made me think about coaching.
You have to know how to play the game.
The coach helps you to develop your strategy to get you to the championship. This is important because we're in a society where so many people are just looking for the microwave, the quick answer. Help me figure it out tonight so I can be rich tomorrow. That is not coaching. That is called consulting. The coach is one who works with you to start your skill set and to build it to the end. You don't call a coach to come to one practice. You don't call a coach to show up at just one game. They have to ride with you through the season to see how you perform, how you show up, to build where you are weak and to make you strong. A coach is not your friend. They are there to get you to win the championship. They may sometimes be a little bit tough, but they see what you can't because they get a chance to watch your total performance. A good coach can also be a consultant, but they cannot separate the two. They must already be skilled, they must be experienced, and they must have proof that they can help you win the game. If you choose a coach with no experience, you need to be very clear that the coach is practicing on you. Now, let me say in the beginning, for some folks, that can be a pretty good example for them to grow their skill set. The next is you need to be sure that your coach is not a fraud influencer. And I did say it. Too many leaders are so attracted and infatuated with the likes on social media, the YouTube viral sensation, the pretty appearance. Now, I understand that a profile is important, but there have been many of you or people who you know have selected a coach simply based on star power. Then you bring the coach into your world and you don't get results. You have to also understand that when you get a coach, they enter into your most sacred places. They enter into your heart, into your mind, into your spirit, into your social environment. When you get a coach, I know no one's going to tell you this, but it's just like getting a pastor. How many people have you known that were brokenhearted because the pastor did me wrong or the church did me wrong? A coach oftentimes has that same ability because they're touching you in very gentle places. They're getting access to your hurt, they're getting access to your dreams, and they're getting access to your vision.
Okay, and the reason why I put that up because it's just like when with therapy, I had to go through a few therapists. I was their therapist, especially not knocking up coming out of school. Everybody has to learn. Everybody has to be a guinea pig at some point, sometime. But I had to go through a few people until I found somebody I related to. When I met Eliza. I'm gonna tell you, the first show that we did at Philly, my first television show, my heart was coming out my chest. When I had, in fact, what I'm doing now, what did I do, Melanie? Didn't I turn it over to you as when I did with Michelle Snow? What I do? I turned it over to her. I enjoy producing. Being a talent is not my forte, but I needed to get this message out to people. So I'm out my comfort zone. I remember calling Michelle and tried to have a pity party. She was like, she wasn't having it because basically what she said just now on her video is she had to get into me. Why are you feeling like this? Ain't nobody got time for you to be crying. This needs to be done. So she gets tough with me. She gets hard with me. And then she'll bring it back down. Look, you can do this. You can do this. Melanie, same thing. You can do this. Kathy, you can do this. It's a lot of people who are dealing with emotional, mental situations, especially with now. It's a lot of people never had to stay in the house bodies all the time. This was a challenge to me. So with that being said, I want you guys to tap on what can somebody do if they don't really know? Can start at home or reach out to a coach. I'm gonna go right to Michelle, because Michelle, as a coach, what do you experience through people?
Well, first of all, thank you for recapping that. I never saw it. I never saw all of that. So it was an experience for me. Just to be on this platform with three equally brilliant, experienced leaders, I'm honored. But Tony J, if you just allow me for a second to pivot, because the video said most of it. If I can pivot for a second and remind the audience, crime is sexy. Crime is fun. Crime is alluring. And crime will give you what feels like unfathomable wealth. This is why in every industry it is rampant. People running legal businesses revert to crime because it's fast, it's fun, and it's furious. And so let's just be realistic here. While we are all sharing incredible opportunities for how we can address the issue, let's not be insensitive to the fact that some of this mayhem that we're experiencing is here to stay. And as a coach, one of our first jobs as a coach, consultant, mentor, leader, and advocate, our first job is to call it what it is. So we will have to continue to face head on the shenanigans and the hurt and all of the triflingness that comes from people who wake up every day and their mission is, what can I take from you to make my life better and easier? And so with that, we have to begin to make an effort to inspire those who we come in touch with that, baby, there might be a better way. I know this money was easy. I know that money was quick. I know it was even fun. But don't you want to prepare for a legacy? What do you want your name to be? What do you want your children to believe in? What do you want them to follow?
Wow. And with that being said, and another thing, when I talk to Kathy Lee sometimes, she talks about manifesting things.
I believe that people create their own reality, and you created the reality to seek out all of and attract to yourself all of those people that can help you. And to be quite honest with you, I really don't know what else to add except as a classroom teacher. You know, when people say kids they can't concentrate, they're always late. They can concentrate on whatever they choose to concentrate on. But the thing about the games that kind of hit me is when we look at things epistemologically, ontologically, cosmologically, I mean, we are basically socialized uh, to try to function within a very fractured world view that is suboptimal. It's not optimal, which is basically what the others were saying. And what brings to mind are two games that I know everyone has played. One is Monopoly, but no one knows where Monopoly even came from. It came about during the Great Depression. The banker was the enemy. Every kid has played Monopoly. Everyone sitting and watching this television show has played Monopoly. You've all understand it. But all I know is when I was little, when I got to the 75% or whatever the percentages were, the math part, I just went ahead and just gave the money because I didn't know how to find the sum. And I didn't realize I could only pay the dollar. But the goal of the game is to take everything. And then there's another game that a lot of people have played, and it's called Risk. Risk. But underneath that, those big garish red letters, it says it's a game of European world domination and conquest. So when you're looking at these two games that are wind up in everyone's household, that kids spend hours on and concentrate on, it's always about taking. And then we want to know, why is it that our kids wake up in the morning, like Michelle said, and all they want to do is, how can I take something from you? But if you're socialized to living in if you're socialized to see this as being quote unquote normal behavior, then how do you expect anyone else, especially as Derek Bell would say, the faces at the bottom of the well, how do you expect them to be these spread their wings and just have these halos above their head and just soar up to the sky and just be these model citizens? A lot of us can, a lot of us cannot.
Melanie, jump in. Unmute Melanie, because you can't hold it. Go ahead now.
I just said drop the mic.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
This
said
has
drop the
been
mic,
such an awesome, show because, like when we say it starts at home, Tony J, we know that everybody don't have the tools at home, but it starts with being inspired. What is inspiring them? And we have to show them it's not about, since we are programmed to a certain degree, it's just how do you take and do it without harming your community and do it where you're giving back, doing it where you can say, instead of me being scared to take a risk and jump for that goal that I want, go for it. We got to get them out of being just normal and just stabilized, thinking every day just that I go to work and come home is a normal lifestyle. It's more out there, with everything going on with this pandemic, and people got access to money they wouldn't have had on a normal basis.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I would say, my opinion, 70% of the people did not do anything positive with the money. They made these department stores, they made these designers even richer because we seen that they wasn't somewhere investing, they were somewhere in line to spend the money as fast as it came in. And now we see inflation because the world was closed for 16 months. So I was just shopping for appliances. Within 6 weeks, I seen refrigerators go from 1,200 to 1,800, now about 2,400, because there's barely any stock, the car industry. So we hopefully can get through to someone by watching these shows and coming together and sticking together so we can give our generation some hope, because that's really what the lack is, not having hope that it's possible. So we got to give them that opportunity to know it's still possible, and it begins with them.
Okay, guys. Wow, that was powerful. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, the rest of the show is going to be solutions. Solutions. What would you want to see? Like, I was introduced to the library through Melanie because we used to do a workshop there about finances. Okay, I was introduced to Eliza. She's doing a workshop for breathing. We Kathy and I was on the Trudy Haynes show, which a legend. And we started with her being her age. Was she's 95 now? Will be 95 this year, Miss Trudy Haynes.
94.
94. Yep. She'll be 95 this year. And I've learned a lot from them. And I noticed a lot of the kids today don't really talk to the seniors. They don't ask them how to. My grandson is here. I ain't gonna put him out too bad. But my thing was him. I said, when you turn 21, you're gonna be on the other side of the door. I'm not ever gonna put any of him out. But I taught him, with the help, Michelle Snow, with the manifestation, Kathy. I tell him to breathe constantly because Eliza taught me how to breathe when I had anxiety. But the bottom line is, when he gets out there on his own, he needs to know financial literacy from the door. So what I've learned, I've taught. So, and that's what I think we need to do. And a lot of kids not, because they'll Google everything. I've been told, gee, Mom, I'm good. I can Google it. But they can't hear the experience that come with the Google. We give them experience. We went through this. Okay, I lost a house. I lost cars. Why? Because I didn't do this. I didn't budget. I didn't save. I didn't have of 6 months of bills saved up. I didn't have that emergency fund. So these are words there. Some of these kids are hearing for the first time. So when we come back, I really want you guys to think about something, a program or something. Like I said, I really love the free library because I didn't know they gave free rooms to, in the communities, the churches. They should have because I get a little crazy with the churches sometimes, and not all of them, but some churches. I just have a problem with pastors riding around in Mercedes Benz and flying airplanes, and their parishioners don't know how they're going to pay their bills, but you ask them for 10% of what half of don't even have. Almost said a little cuss word, but I'm saying, and I don't have a problem with that because you worship, but there's something to me should be tight founded. So when we come back, guys, think about that, and we'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay, guys, we're back. So I gave y'all 30 seconds to ponder that. So Kathy, don't start. So who want to go? Who want to jump in first?
Well, I just want to say, beautiful ladies, I have enjoyed this platform truly, and the knowledge you all have shared individually. I was thinking about something I researched a couple of years ago concerning the school-age children. There were a lot of mindfulness programs, especially yoga, was teaching them how to be quiet. Because, in quietness, you get to learn yourself. You get to understand some of your thoughts, whether you like them or not, So you get to make choices when you have quiet time. You get to expand your view from not just looking at something that's talking to you, but now you're learning how you're talking to yourself. And you have an opportunity to self-regulate, self-evaluate, and begin to critique some of the things that you want to change, because now you have to deal with yourself, and you're guided, by an instructor to start dealing with some of the intimate, emotional traumas and struggles and challenges that the children are having. And then they come together to realize that it's not just me. It's you too, and it's you too. So they don't feel like they're all alone in this experience. So I think mindfulness practices is key. I presented to the school district several times, and they did not bite on it, not one time. So, yeah, unfortunately, they did not. And I even did the youth study center. And, I began to teach at the Delaware library. So, I just went where people were available to be able to teach it. And I continue to teach mindfulness practices because, sometimes, how can you get to the next moment, not the next day? If a child's hungry, you know what I mean? They got to be fed. If a child is having an anxiety attack, they need to know how to process through it. They need to know actually what it is first. Then they can be able to have some steps to be able to process through it, and know now they're creating and developing some core strengths towards knowing that, when this shows up, I do have a solution. When this shows up, I can do this. When it shows up, I can actually feel good about going through these steps. So I think as a whole, it's mindfulness practices to bring them to a place where they realize that they have greater thoughts, and they can begin to affirm themselves through affirming words, whether they write them, read them, or listen to them. There's just so many different ways that they can begin to get in touch with themselves and learn themselves for themselves, and no longer having the rapping and the music and all of the games and the disconnected relationships screaming and hollering at them all day long. But they can actually come to themselves and begin to appreciate their own minds.
Well, you're a Sister Suki after my own heart, because Eliza, I am right with you on that, honey. And I'm not. Oh, affirming statements, absolutely. And you took us right back to the motherland with that, to be quite honest with you. And I'm so grateful because only you can change yourself. No one can make you learn something or make you do something. It has to come from within you. But you have to believe that you can. You need the examples that Michelle talked about and Melody talked about and Tony J talked about. We need all of that. As a matter of fact, every little piece that Tony J pulled together here through us is what is needed. The community building, the self-reflection, and we don't teach enough of that in school. And I was cracking up. I don't know if they heard me when Eliza said she went to the school district. You know, they do the same thing when they say they want parental involvement, but then when the parent gets involved, they kind of show them the door. And not everyone, not everywhere. And so I don't want to generalize. I just know that's been the experience of some of the people that have gone into our school buildings, and I would say by maybe end like a little story. My mother did not have a high school diploma, but my mother was a bear. My mother would take my daughter when she was 2 years old, and she would help her count her pennies. And my daughter saw through my grandmother how many pennies my mother accrued, where my mother had boxes and barrels of pennies. I mean, so many pennies. And when she took them to the bank, I'm not even going to tell you how much it was. It was amazing. And my daughter learned the value of saving from my mother. And before she went to go to college, was closing out her bank account to turn it over to her. Unbeknownst to me, she had become Mrs. Moneypenny, and I didn't know it. And she asked for a CD when she was like in the seventh or eighth grade. So I got her the CD player, got her the CD, the disc. She said, "That's not the CD I want. I want the bank CD." I said, "What do you mean you want the bank CD?" That's what she wants. She wanted the bank CD. Anyway, graphic calculators. Before she graduated high school, she's out there video conferencing with the bank in Pittsburgh. This was PSFS. And I'm saying, where the heck did she get all the money from? She learned to save from my mother. So there's the role model. And when my mother passed, she had all her ducks lined up. She had her CDs pay on death. The only thing I had to handle was the house. My daughter is a bankruptcy and loan consolidation attorney, Michelle Lee. Not a shout out. It's just not surprising that that's the path that she has chosen. And she does not buy anything on credit. She does not overextend herself. If one paycheck doesn't cover her mortgage, she doesn't deal with it. She is the budget master. She just needs to stay the heck out of my financial affairs because I am not very good at it. I'm just an excellent teacher.
Well, one of the things that I can bring to the table, and Michelle Snow definitely will know who I'm talking about. I was just honored to meet a young lady named Elaine Johnson of Johnson Family Services. And she has inquired space in the Northwest area, basically off of Ogans Avenue. And she has space there, but she actually has more space. And she's looking to bring in different programs so that we can have kids, young adults, and even adults come in and get these services that's so needed. So you will be hearing more about this because I just look at God putting me here with this panel of so many more resources that we can all collaborate together and at least give our area some type of hope. Because, like you said, it starts with someone showing someone something so they know it's opportunity out there for them as well. And we now have to be the example because, other than that, we're going to be disadvantaging our children to come. So I'm looking forward to us doing big things and definitely helping our communities. So let Michelle start first, and Michelle, give us a little solution and then end with your name because they all kind of know who we are by now.
Thank you, everyone, for a great show. I'm Michelle Snow. I'm here to serve you with your coaching needs, with your leadership needs. Find us all over your internet, Michelle Snow. Thank you, everyone.
Melanie.
Melody Bazemore, the Credit Boosters, and MB Financial Group. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Eliza
Dukes. I provide self-therapeutic tools, and you can find me at The Breathing Experience on Instagram, LinkedIn, Eliza Dukes, and all other platforms, either Eliza Dukes or The Breathing Experience, or go to the website.
Kathy Lee.
Oh, the original Kathy Lee. You can find me on the social media platforms, but you can also reach me through Tony J, Eliza Dukes, Melody Bazemore,
See what I'm talking about. See, the show is over, and see what I go through. Guys, I want to thank everybody. Now I got to edit. One thing I love about my show, it is raw, and it is who we are, and I'm going to keep doing this because you guys have brought such knowledge, such education, and a lot of people didn't know, because at my early stages I didn't. My hashtag is I know better now. So guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. We're going to continue this on part 2 because you guys was amazing. So see you next time.
Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. Money keeps coming to me. Money is coming to me. I can just feel it, and I believe money keeps coming to me. It's coming to me now, and I'm not